Finnish President Alexander Stubb confronted Donald Trump with a hard truth. Russia cannot be appeased, only contained. Pointing to Finland's 1944 war with Moscow, where his country lost land but secured independence, Stubb warned Trump that ignoring history risks repeating it. With an 830-mile border against Russia, Finland lives the threat daily. Stubb's message was clear: learn from Finland's scars or let Putin exploit America's blind spots. Finnish President Alexander Stubb was at the White House on August 18th for a high-profile meeting with US President Donald Trump, alongside other European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The gathering focused on a possible solution to the grinding Russia-Ukraine war. But for Stubb, it was also a chance to draw on Finland's history with its eastern neighbour. With an 830-mile border, Finland has long lived with the risks of Russian aggression, and few nations understand Moscow's behaviour better than the Finns. Stubb reminded Trump of how his country managed to find a solution to Soviet pressure in 1944.
Some of the international media might wonder, why is the president of Finland here? I think the reason is probably that we might come from a small country, but we have a long border with Russia, over 800 miles. And we, of course, have our own historical experience with Russia from World War II, the Winter War and the War of Continuation. And if I look at the silver lining of where we stand right now, we found a solution in 1944, and I'm sure that we'll be able to find a solution in 2025 to end Russia's war of aggression and find and get a lasting and just peace. The situation is very difficult, but that's why we're here.
In 1944, Finland was locked in the continuation war with the Soviet Union, a brutal chapter that followed the earlier Winter War of 1939-1940. That year saw the Soviet Union launch a massive offensive across the Karelian Isthmus, smashing through Finnish defences. The Soviets quickly captured Viipuri, Viborg, forcing the Finnish army to retreat more than 100 kilometres back to the lines it had held at the end of the Winter War. Throughout the summer, fierce battles raged across this frontier. The Battle of Tali-Ihantala, fought in June and July 1944, became the largest battle ever fought in the Nordic countries. Despite being outnumbered and exhausted, the Finnish army managed to halt the Soviet advance, but the cost was severe. Finland's leadership realised it couldn't withstand another major offensive. By September 1944, the country sought peace, culminating in the Moscow Armistice. Under its harsh terms, Finland was forced to return to the borders of the 1940 Moscow Treaty, cede the Petsamo region, and lease the Porkala Peninsula as a Soviet naval base. The 1947 Paris Peace Treaty later codified these terms, stripping Finland of roughly 10–12.5% of its pre-war territory. The losses included Finland's most developed region, Karelia, as well as the Petsamo Arctic corridor with its lucrative nickel mines. The human toll was equally profound. Nearly 420,000 Finns, about 12% of the population, had to abandon their homes and resettle within Finland's new borders. For generations, these losses imprinted a deep caution in Finland's dealings with Moscow. Stubb's historical reminder to Trump was therefore not just a history lesson. It was a warning about how Russia leverages war, territory and intimidation to bend its neighbours and how fragile peace can be. After 1944, Finland underwent significant territorial changes due to the Moscow Armistice and the subsequent 1947 Paris Peace Treaty. The main territorial changes for Finland were cession of Finnish Karelia. This included the Karelian Isthmus, including Viipuri, now Viborg, and areas north of Lake Ladoga. This was the most populated and economically developed region lost by Finland. Loss of the Petsamo, Pechenga region. Located in the far north, this region gave Finland access to the Arctic Ocean. Its loss also meant the loss of valuable nickel mines, parts of Salla and Kuusamo. In northern Finland, additional territories in these municipalities were ceded to the Soviet Union. Islands in the Gulf of Finland. Several small islands were transferred to Soviet control. Porkkala Peninsula. This was leased to the Soviet Union for use as a naval base, leased until 1956. Though diminished in territory, Finland survived as an independent state. Its leaders chose a pragmatic path, balancing relations between East and West during the Cold War while preserving sovereignty. For Stubb, that historical tightrope still shapes Finland's outlook today. In Washington, Stubb is less well known than other European leaders, yet his growing role is hard to ignore. At a recent public moment, Trump seemed to forget his name. An awkward gaffe given how central Stubb has become in transatlantic diplomacy.
President Stubb of Finland, and he's somebody that, where are we here? Huh? Where? I'm right here. Oh, you look better than I've ever seen you look. But you've done a great job, and we wanted to have you here because you're somebody that we all respect. And you've had a lot to do with the success, I think, and the potential success. And thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
Behind the scenes, however, the 57-year-old Finn has forged what aides describe as a burgeoning friendship with Trump. They exchange texts and calls at odd hours, a channel that has vaulted Stubb into a backroom role as a bridge between Trump and European leaders. Fortunately for transatlantic relations, Stubb is also an excellent golfer. That talent was no small factor in their relationship. It was on a West Palm Beach golf course 5 months ago that their unusual bond first began. Since then, Stubb has emerged as a key conduit for European officials hoping to shape Trump's approach to Russia, particularly ahead of his summit with Vladimir Putin in Anchorage on August 15th. Stubb is a polished, wonkish figure. A champion of NATO, fluent in 5 languages, he is deeply aware of the Russian threat. For him, this is not just geopolitics, it is personal history. Both his grandfather and his father were born in cities that Finland was forced to cede to the Soviet Union. Today, those towns lie inside Russia. That legacy runs through his worldview. While Finland embraced neutrality during the Cold War, its people never forgot the cost of appeasing Moscow. Stubb himself spent years navigating East-West politics, both as Finland's foreign minister and later as prime minister. But he also has a uniquely American streak. In the 1980s, he studied at Furman University in South Carolina on a golf scholarship. With a heavy drawl, he often jokes to Americans that he is Finnish by birth, Southern by the grace of God. That mix of pragmatism, Western alignment, and cultural ease with Americans has made him an unexpected but effective interlocutor for Trump. During the Cold War, Finland walked a careful line, independent but constrained, neutral yet mindful of Soviet power. Today, its path is clearer. It has joined NATO, aligning firmly with the West, but its long border with Russia still shapes national strategy. Stubb's White House reminder of 1944 underscored why Finland takes Moscow so seriously. What Finland endured then, invasion, loss of territory, forced resettlement, is precisely what Ukrainians face now. His message was subtle but unmistakable. If Trump wants to understand Russia's playbook, he should study Finland's history.